Now then, I'm Jules and welcome to the Wedding Mavericks podcast. On this week's episode, which I recorded when the UK were not in lockdown, I'm chatting with Hannah Taylor, a bridal hairstylist from Sheffield in the UK. Hannah's a really down-to-earth person and probably the most entrepreneurial person that I've met during my time in the wedding industry. Although she's been hairdressing for around a decade, what she's done in the last 3 years is incredible. From doing cuts and colours from her home to growing an internationally recognised brand with a bridal hairstyling and education. She's grown a team of hairstylists covering multiple weddings every week and delivered numerous in-person workshops, passing on her knowledge and skills to other stylists. So when the pandemic hit, she did what any entrepreneur would do and look for a solution. And in just a few months, had built an online education platform, enabling her to reach even more people who were wanting to learn how to do awesome bridal hairstyling. I forgot to mention that she has over 100,000 Instagram followers, and I honestly think that she is only at the start of her journey. She's such a lovely person to talk to. She's very humble, honest, and generous with her time. I really hope you get a lot from this one. So I'm here today, I'm talking to Hannah Taylor, who's a bridal hairstylist here in Sheffield. Hi Hannah.
Hi.
So I know who you are and what you do, but for anybody who's listening, watching, who doesn't, isn't familiar with your work.
I've never heard of me.
Well, if they're into bridal hair, I imagine they have, to be honest. There'll be like all sorts of people listening to this. So,
Yeah.
So go on, give me a...
So I specialise in bridal hair. I have done for, quite a few years now. Started off doing normal hairdressing, and I think the first year that I started, I think I had like 5 of my normal clients that were getting married, and I did their weddings and absolutely loved it. And I've always enjoyed more styling hair more than like normal hairdressing anyway. And 8 years ago, when I was pregnant with my little boy, I decided I was just going to go for it really and try and push the wedding side of it.
Okay.
Obviously, there's a lot more money in weddings as there is normal hairdressing. I just tried to push that side of it more. And probably about two or 3 years ago, I completely stopped the other side of hairdressing. I've just purely been focusing on bridal now. Yeah.
Right. So you basically, did you train in hairdressing?
Yeah,
so
trained in normal hairdressing.
Went to college and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, college 1 day a week, and obviously I was working in a salon doing your cuts and colours, and to be fair, like where I worked, nobody really did wedding hair. There was only me and a couple of girls, so I used to just practice at any opportunity really, and a lot of it I have taught myself over the years. But yeah, I've just always loved that side of it more, so...
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, you got to go back to it. You say 8 years ago.
Yeah, about nearly 9 years ago. Yeah,
right.
That I started trying to. Actually, it'd be nearly 10.
Right.
Yeah, nearly 10 years ago.
And so you're saying at that point you didn't see many people doing bridal hair around
No,
here?
I mean when I first started, really there wasn't really many people that specialised in it at all. I know it's obviously got a lot more popular lately, like with social media and stuff.
Yeah.
But when I first started, it was quite somebody specialised in wedding hair. It wasn't really a thing, so I feel like my reputation built up quite fast, really. And I went from doing like, 7 weddings the first year to, doing 60, 70, and now I do like 130 weddings a year, so I can't really fit any more in, to be fair. So I love it.
So, to go back 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And you're doing your cuts and your colours in the salon, and you said about there's not as much money, you don't get paid as much doing that. What were you thinking at that point? Because this is like something I'm interested in, because was it a conscious decision that you were like gonna go into this, this, and you had like more of a plan in your head, or did it just
not really, it just kind of happened. I mean, like, obviously, like 9 years ago when I was doing weddings, it was weddings weren't as massive a thing then anyway, as obviously like now they're massive. Like people put so much money into the weddings now, and it's got to be this Instagram perfect wedding. Like 9 years ago, it wasn't really like that.
Yeah.
But obviously, like when I did a wedding, I'd probably come back with a little envelope with some cash in it and think, God, I've had to work 2 full days.
Yeah.
Doing cuts and colours for that, and I used to think, God, like if I could just do more weddings, I'd be able to cut down on the other stuff really. So yeah, I found it a lot better doing that side.
So let's go back to at the start when you're doing bridal hair. You've done a few, but it wasn't. You were still working in a salon doing kind of hair, normal hairdressing. How did you get from that to doing just solely bridal hair? Because it seems like a big step to do as a career.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously it did take a while to like build up. So like when I was just doing, I don't know, 30, 40 weddings a year, it wasn't something that I could just quit everything else for. So it was probably about 3 years ago that I decided to completely cut out the other side of hairdressing.
Yeah.
Before that I used to do my weddings, and then I used to work doing cuts and colours while my little boy were at school. When he went to bed at night, I'd have more clients. But I just found that I was literally working all day, every day. And I remember once actually I had 3 months without having one day off, and I just thought I can't.
Seriously?
3 months. And I remember, this sounds ridiculous, but I remember once just sitting and I looked at my phone, I had loads of messages, people wanting to book in for the cuts and colour, and I just started crying. So I was just like, I'm so tired and I can't fit any more people in. So it was just great. I think I just kind of thought I can't physically do it all anymore.
Yeah.
So I thought, right, I'm going to push the wedding side of it even more. And that's when I thought, right, I'm going to set up a Facebook page for weddings. I didn't even have Instagram at the time. I set up a Facebook page about, I'm not sure, probably about 6 years ago, and that's when it started to like build. And I was really proud at first because I had like 92 likes on my Facebook page.
Is this something bridal hair?
Yeah, this was. I think my page at the time was like Wedding Hair by Hannah Taylor or something like that. Yeah. And then obviously that's when I started getting like inquiries through that, and that's when it just started to build really. But I'd say purely focusing on bridal hair, not doing anything else, I'd say about 3 years.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a big 3 years then.
Yeah.
Me knowing what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I can't believe that you've done all that in 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't really, to be fair.
Take me to that 3 year point. Mm-hmm. You've got your Facebook page. Mm-hmm. Were you using Instagram?
Yeah, so 3 years ago when I decided to stop everything else, that's because obviously I was probably at the point then where I thought, I'm busy enough now doing my weddings. And then that's when I decided, because I used to get loads of people messaging me like about education and stuff like that, and do you teach, do you do one-to-one lessons? And I think that's when I started to think, actually, maybe I could swap the cut and colour side of it and start to do more educating really. And that's when I just started off doing, I don't know, like lessons for 2 or 3 hours or things like that. Just
to like odd people who contact you. It wasn't something that you'd set out to do.
It wasn't something that I particularly pushed a lot. No, and at first I'm not going to lie, I used to think, I don't really want to teach people because then I won't have any work myself. But then obviously I just thought, how many weddings there are like every day? That's ridiculous. You can't do 500 weddings a day. So as long as I've got one, then that's fine. So that's what I started to do, like just bits of lessons here and there. And that kind of took over from that side.
From doing the cut and colours and
stuff like that.
And then you've got your weddings, your own bookings.
Yeah.
And where did you find that most of them came from? Because I'm guessing that at that point you weren't like some people will like have a really specific internet strategy or they're running adverts.
I've always just winged it. I'm not gonna lie.
So where were the inquiries coming from?
Facebook, like obviously I set up that page and I would put like an advert on. I'd just put like brides to be, anybody wanting to book the wedding hair, and I don't know, I might put £10 on it that week, and you'd be surprised, like even that £10 I used to just think, if I get a few inquiries then it's worth it. And then it got to the point where I thought, actually I may as well I'll try putting 50 quid on it this week, see if that works. And I used to just put that on, and then I might get, I don't know, I might get 7 bookings from it that week. So it did work. Yeah, definitely. I do feel like pushing yourself on social media, Facebook and Instagram, it has for me anyway, it has worked to get the bookings in, definitely.
Okay. So that's kind of a few years ago. You're doing bits of teaching. You're using social media pretty much to get your bookings.
Yeah.
Did you find that like you were getting referrals? Because
yeah.
the thing with weddings, you always cascade, don't you?
Yeah.
There's always someone getting married at that wedding.
Yeah, and obviously what girls are like, you get chatting to all the girls on a wedding morning, and it's like, oh, there's like there's always a couple of bridesmaids that are engaged, and then it's like, oh, my friend's getting married, and yeah, I'd say every time you do a wedding, it obviously guests will always be asking, like, oh, who's done your hair, and it just spreads like that, really, I suppose. And obviously, if you've got a good reputation and things like that, I think people naturally talk about things girls do anyway. So we'll always talk about hair and stuff like that.
So I was going to come to this a bit later, but because we've touched on social media. So Instagram's a big one for you. Yeah. Like I honestly don't know anybody who's got as many Instagram followers as you. And I know because you are a very down to earth and relaxed person, but like you've got a lot of Instagram followers. So
I wish you got £1 for every follower you got there.
That'd be good, wouldn't it? So, how did that happen? Did that happen quickly? Is that taking a lot of time?
I feel like I can't even remember how long I've had Instagram for, to be fair. But I feel like the main thing is with Instagram, and I always say to people that come on workshops and things like that if you come across a page on Instagram, would you follow it? Like, would it be interesting enough for you to follow? Then if not, look at it and think, what do I need to do to think, oh, I'll click follow on that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think I come across pages on Instagram and sometimes I think, oh, that's amazing. And I don't know why. We just don't click follow. We'll click back and carry on scrolling. I think it does take that. I don't know, it needs to be something that makes you think, I'm going to gain something from following. So whether it be, I don't know, an odd tutorial here and there, or like tips. And I feel like we always people just expect a lot from people now. So I think we always want something. We always want to gain something.
So basically, are you saying that what you did is you didn't just post nice pictures of your hairstyles,
I'd say
but you gave them a bit, you gave them something out of that?
Yeah, so when I first started using Instagram, like, it makes me cringe when I look back at the pictures that I used to post, because I used to just put pictures on and there'd be somebody's mother-in-law having a cup of tea in the background. Like, nothing would be tidy. It would just be a picture in really bad lighting and things like that. And I didn't have a clue, to be fair, with the whole thing. And then obviously, like, I'd probably say the past couple of years I've thought, right, okay, I need to make more of an effort with it. Yeah. So obviously I tried to make the post look really nice and aesthetically, like, pleasing to look at. But every now and again, like the odd tutorial here and there, or tips and things, just to break it up a little bit, really. But I don't feel like I'm the best at social media at all, to be fair. But I do.
That makes me laugh.
But I think a lot of people follow me for, like, inspiration. So I do get a lot of people that follow me that are getting married. But then you do also get a lot of people unfollow you, because once they are married and they don't need your hairstyles anymore, you do notice, like, oh, so loads of people have unfollowed me today. And then you might find the day after you've gained a few. But
you've talked briefly about this with me before. Which I think is the weird thing is, I'd never even noticed it myself, and I don't have any followers.
You're best off not,
compared to yourself. Like, I've got no followers at all. But when you mentioned that, I weirdly started to look at it.
Yeah, and you shouldn't. It's the worst thing you can ever do.
And it freaked me out, because I was thinking, what the f*** did I say?
Yeah, what have I done
wrong?
What
have I done today?
For instance, I put a post on last night. I've lost 50 followers since last night.
Really?
Yeah, since this morning.
And it's like you've reminded people that they're following you.
Yeah, exactly. Me and my friend were talking about this the other day, like, as though if you don't post anything for a while, people forget about you, and it's fine. You put something on, and it's like, oh, didn't realise I was following that. Unfollow. But you can't take it to heart. You just got to think, just honestly, like, people message me a lot and they say, like, how do you get more followers? How do you get this? How do you get that? And I would say, even though I'm probably my own worst enemy for that, just try and not even look at how many followers you've got, because you don't get paid for getting followers. Like, people have always said to me, like, no, like, once you reach a certain amount of followers, do you get paid now from Instagram? It's like, no, of course you don't.
Ask that question,
like,
right?
No, not at all. It doesn't really make any difference. Obviously, the more followers you've got more reach.
Yep.
But Instagram is hard and social media is hard. Just because I've got like 90,000 followers, 99.1 thousand.
Is that what it is?
No, but just because I've got that, like, I'll put something on, but it might get seen by 5,000. Like, 94,000 people might not see that post. So.
But for a lot of people, I think 5,000's an amazing
massive
number.
And that's why I say to people, like, don't pay any attention to it. Like, as long as you're getting the bookings in, it doesn't matter if you've got 100 followers. Doesn't matter if you've got 200 followers. Like, it doesn't make any difference. I'd say when I didn't even have Instagram and I was just using Facebook, I was getting as many, building up to that point.
Yeah,
so
and you were still able to do this as a job.
I was still able to do this as a job, yeah. I really think it's important for people to not look at that number. I almost wish that number at the top wasn't there, because...
As in, like, it was invisible to people.
Yeah, like, people can't see what that number is, because, for instance, like, I think sometimes, like for instance, if I do hit 100,000... and then the day after it's 99 again.
That's going to feel something.
Yeah, like, it wouldn't bother me, but you kind of think, oh no, everybody knows that people have unfollowed me, and it's just I just think we shouldn't think like that, because it's really not important.
Yeah.
So
I totally agree with you, and it's a
just
very refreshing thing to hear somebody who's actually done well on social media to say something like that.
Yeah, because I just think it doesn't actually, like, honestly, sometimes, like, if people say to me, like, oh, what's your Instagram name, and I give it, and they go, oh, you've got a lot of followers, but it doesn't actually mean anything. It's not, do you know what I mean? So, it doesn't make me any better than... How
did it get to that number? Do you know how it got to that number?
Well,
I don't want you to, like, tell me the whole thing, but actively, was it something you were trying to do, or did it just happen?
I'd say probably a couple of years ago, that's when I noticed it start. I feel like it took me a long time to get to 10,000.
Yeah.
And obviously that is still a massive number. Yeah. Like, when I reached 10,000, I was like, oh my God, like, but I feel like it took a long time to get to that. And then I feel like once I reached 10,000, I don't know, I feel like it's as though it's a lot easier for people to click that follow button. Like, oh, they've got 10,000.
You think you're reaching more people?
Yeah, maybe. Or people that do come across your page might think, oh, she's good because she's got 10,000 followers, and then they'll click. Whereas I could have exactly the same feed, have 200 followers, and people might not click it because they might think she can't be that good because she's not got as many. Yeah. Which I think is some people's mindset, which I think is absolutely ridiculous, to be fair.
Well, that's what you said, not earlier on in this conversation, that's what you said, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, it's not important, but I would say for anyone that is trying to build up, like, the social media and stuff, is if you want to get noticed by certain brands and things like that, then tag them and let them see your work. And you want to post pictures that you think, actually, like, I'm really happy with that picture. You want somebody to maybe share that picture. So I've had my work shared on quite a lot of, like, bigger pages, like bigger pages that get shared, like
bridal hair stuff.
Yeah, like there's pages, like there's one called, like, Beyond the Ponytail, Behind the Chair, Modern Salon, and they've got, like, some of them have got like 1 million followers.
Right.
And if they share your work, obviously you get seen by a lot more people. Yeah. So I think it did build up quite a bit doing that, but lately it's just kind of plateaued again, and it used to bother me, but now I just think it really doesn't matter. So.
Yeah. But as well, you know, I suppose a bit of time has passed since it's been like that, and you can move on from that a little bit. Yeah. You're not worrying about it as much because you've got other things.
I used to check my insights and stuff, like, every day about how many people have unfollowed me today, and now I just think I'm not bothered. Yeah. And obviously it does sound ridiculous because it's hard because you just think, well, what have I done? Why are people, like we've just been saying earlier, like, what have I done wrong? Why do people... It makes you think, am I not any good anymore? But it's not.
It's not just, that at all. It's nothing to do with you.
Yeah,
it's them.
Yeah.
But, you know, before we kind of leave that, I do want to say it is like an achievement. And, like, you know, I think you should you should kind of feel good about that. But I do think it's a really good thing that you don't like think it's a big deal.
No.
And like because we have talked about this, and we won't kind of go into it too much, but people can sometimes be it's totally shows your personality, because it's not about false stuff.
No, yeah.
So Instagram, I imagine, is quite useful for you for people to find you, and
definitely.
to grow your business.
Yeah.
And we've talked a little bit about the education. I'm gonna, before we go on to that and talk about that properly, because that is now like a big part of your business.
Yeah.
Let's kind of stick to the because we've met each other because you do weddings, you do bridal hair. But not only do you do it, you've built a bit of a team up, haven't you? So it's like you're not just limiting yourself to how many weddings you can be at. You've built that brand up.
Well, like, it got to the point where I was just turning down work all the time, because obviously there's only so many weddings you can book a year.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those kind of people that would be like, okay, I'm not doing your wedding that day because I've got a day off. Yeah. It's just, if I'm free, I will work. Yeah. I've always been the same, but obviously your weekday weddings are never been as popular, so it's always usually your Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it got to the point where before I even checked the message, I know that I'd already been booked up. And I was literally at my friend's barbecue one day for a little girl's birthday, and I was going off to do a trial in the middle of the day, and they was like, you need somebody else to do weddings as well. And I said, it's going to have to be somebody that I know, though, that I can trust. And then my friend was sat opposite in the garden. I just were like, Amy, I was like, would you ever do wedding hair? She was like, yeah, like as though she'd be waiting for years for me to ask her. But we'd had a few drinks then, so I don't think... Well, I hadn't, obviously, I was doing a trial. So I was like, hey, mate, would you ever do it? And I think she just thought I was just, like, saying it in passing. And I messaged her the day after, like, right, when are we starting your training then? And, that was it. So I started off just training my friend Amy. And she now does, like, over 100 weddings a year. I've got 2 other girls doing it. Also my good friends. And it's really nice because it's kind of nice to have people to talk about it with as well. Like, obviously before that was just a one-man band. Yeah. And it's nice to be able to, like, we do training together, and we have, like, set days that we get models in, and... It's
like you've got colleagues, and you're sharing this,
sharing
this,
like,
experiences
together, whereas, obviously, like... Although, like, my fella's interested, like, there's only so much he can listen to. Like, he doesn't know what I'm on about.
You've not got him into the hair yet.
No, there was one day in lockdown where I did try and persuade him to, like, learn, just in case, but no, he wasn't having it.
So, you've got your mate, like, what did they do before? Were they hairstylists?
One of my friends was. Like, one of my friends, she used to work with me years ago. So when she was 14 and I was 16, we were, like, best friends at work. Amy, she'd never had any experience in hair. She's actually, like, got a master's degree in science.
Right.
Yeah, so it was very random, but she's always had that natural... She's always had an eye for hair. Yeah. And she literally took no time to train at all. She's doing my wedding hair, actually. Yeah, and another one of my friends that does it, she has done barbering for years, so she's been hairdressing for, like, 15 years. Yeah. So yeah, they've all got a good eye for it, and I think that's all you really need. If you've got an interest in it and you've got that eye, you look at something and you know something that looks good and something that doesn't, then I think that's all you really need.
If that was true, then I'd be able to do it.
Well, yeah, true, because you have watched plenty of those.
I've watched plenty of your tutorials, and I'm still trying to get good at it. I did a couple of things over the last few weeks that were a bit questionable. They went to school looking like they'd been dragged through a hedge backwards. But so when you say you got an eye for it, so I don't know if everybody would say, the first thing that comes to, like, hair styling, or bridal hair may be a bit different, but like, you wouldn't automatically go, oh, that hairdresser, she's artistic, right? Yeah. But this is the thing that I've kind of learned while since I've known you, is that there is, like, this art to it.
Yeah, there is. And I always say to people with, like, bridal styling, you don't need to be a hairdresser to do it. Like, if you've got an interest in it and you enjoy looking at different styles and you can see the different, I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, like, obviously there's some styles, we've all got different tastes and things like that. But I do think if you've got an interest in hair and you can see like, oh, that style looks better than that one. Do you know, like, if there's a difference?
Yeah, and you can see where there's things out of place.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, without sound, I don't want to offend anybody. And then I think that if you've got that and you're willing to learn, then you don't need to be a hairdresser, if that makes sense. Like, I know so many stylists that they are amazing at cut and colour. They would not go near wedding hair. They wouldn't. And I know people that have just said, no, I have no interest in it whatsoever.
Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of it's maybe the pressure. They might feel like it's a big pressure to do someone's hair on the big day, but I just think it's just a laugh. Like, to do somebody's wedding hair on the wedding morning, it's just a girly.
There's a nice atmosphere, even if it is pressure.
Yeah, it's lovely, and obviously the more you do, and you've done the trial and stuff anyway, it's just a nice chilled morning. Everyone's drinking prosecco and everyone's crying, happy tears. Yeah, it's nice. I love it. Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah.
So, in terms of you and your hairstyling, because let's be honest, not everyone's got the following that you've got. Not everybody is as well. I'm not trying to make it sound like you're some sort of celebrity, because I know that'd make you cringe. But what I mean is we're going to come on to your education side of your business and stuff. Not everybody would be in that situation. So, like, what do you think it is that you've done that's different, or it sets you apart? Because I do think that you've got, I mean, I couldn't believe how many different chuffing styles there were.
I do feel like, I mean, without even being aware of it, I've obviously got my own style. Like, without even, I suppose, if I scroll down my Instagram feed, I can tell they're all, even though I'm looking at my own work, they've got a certain style about them. And people have said to me before, like, as soon as you put a picture on, I know it's yours. Yeah. And I don't really know what that is. I suppose for me, I want hair to look like, I mean, back in the day, like, I mean, obviously, I'm 31 now, but when I was a teenager and people were having the school parties and things like that, and the hair used to look like plastic because it was so set in these like tiny little curls, and styles have changed and everything's improved so much now, and people's expectations now due to social media are like way up there
because they've got a lot to look at.
Like, for instance, all we have to do now is type in #hair goals or #bridal updo, and you're going to get the best pictures that you're going to see, because they're going to Instagram and things like that are going to show the pictures that have been the most popular. Yeah. So people are going to come to you wanting those pictures because they know it's possible because they've seen a picture. Yeah. So I feel like I'm really like answering a completely different question now, but I feel like
no, it's good because you're talking about what you think people want and how. How
I suppose really, like, I want hair to look amazing now, but I want people to look back in the pictures in 20 years time and the hair to still look amazing rather than that was in fashion back in the day. I want it to look like effortless, if that's, I know you're a man, you're not good. No. But
I'll put some context to that. You know, in the 80s, like, I look at photos of my mum when she was
there's an era in there, there's different eras,
whereas you can see that, whereas the stuff you do could work now, it could have worked 20 years ago.
Yeah,
hopefully work in 20 years' time.
Yeah, exactly. I'd like to think that it's not got a sell-by date on it and it's just like, it looks like hair. Yeah. It doesn't look like plastic, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, yeah. Hey everyone, how great is this story so far? I hope you're getting a lot from these podcasts, as obviously I'm putting a lot of time and effort into them every week. It would really help me get the podcast out to more people whom it might be of use or help to. If you could share it on your socials or with people you know in the wedding business community. That's all I wanted to say, and let's get back to the conversation. Okay, so you've built up your team. You've clearly got you've built a following, and I know that might sound a bit cheesy, but you have. And that has kind of opened a door for, you mentioned people had started to ask you about doing training and things. But I imagine at the start that was quite a low-key thing. It wasn't intentional.
No, definitely not.
So how did it get to you doing workshops for quite a number of people and then, you know, building it from there? Because you from what I understand, you were having your workshops was probably 50% of the business, if not more.
Yeah, definitely. So at first it was kind of like people messaging me like, do you teach it? Can I have a lesson? And I was always a little bit like, oh, I don't know. Like I'd never done that before, so I didn't even know if it would be possible to teach it, or I didn't have a clue. So it was something that I kind of said, oh, I'm not offering that at the minute, but I'll maybe think about it, blah blah blah. And then one day I remember, God, this is probably coming up to, I think this will be 3 years in January, 3 or 4 years in January. I remember thinking, shall I do, for the first, I think it was the first thing, I don't know if I'd done a few lessons before that, but I remember thinking, shall I do a masterclass? Like, I am actually really quite a shy person.
Yeah.
And for me, this was like a massive, like, shall I do it? Shall I just, I think you should always kind of put yourself out of your comfort zone. Like, this today for me is going out of my comfort zone as it is. But I remember just thinking, shall I do a masterclass? Like, people might come, people might not, but I'll just try it. So I put this advert on, and I was like, on Facebook, I was like, should I do a masterclass? Like, I thought maybe like, I don't know, Sunday afternoon, or and just see how many tickets I could sell. I remember it was 40 tickets maximum. I did it at Blue 88, and I actually did it with a makeup artist called Sarah Gray, who was one of my good friends. And
you'll have to explain that to me.
Yeah, this masterclass.
Yeah, and what's Blue 88?
Blue 88, just a bar in Sheffield.
Oh, right, okay.
So, sorry. So, basically, sold tickets. I honestly didn't think anyone would even be interested.
And this is in person.
This is in person. This was basically just me doing, I don't know, I think I was doing like teaching 2 or 3 hairstyles. Sarah was teaching a makeup look, and I think I just put on like, would anyone be interested? And we ended up selling like all 40 tickets, which was like amazing, but like scary at the same time.
Can you remember what were you charging? Like,
I think it was like, I don't know, I think it was like 60 odd pound like a ticket or something.
But if you've never done anything like that before, I bet you were, people bought 40 tickets, you were like, whoa.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, yeah. And just the fact that anybody wanted to come, to be honest, I thought there might be just me mum and dad on front row. But yeah, so that's when I did that, and that went really well. And I started to do like one-to-one lessons and stuff like that. And that's when I kind of thought, actually, I really enjoy, more the teaching side of it.
Yeah.
And then it got to a point where, I mean, I still did one-to-one lessons, but I kind of thought, well, if I can do workshops where people can come and I can teach a group of people. I think it started off maybe because like a group of people might have come as they were friends or something like that.
Yeah, and they all like kind of chipped in together.
Yeah, and then I thought actually that works out quite well now doing it as a group. So that's when I started doing that, and like the first part of the day I'd be like demonstrating hairstyles, then the second part of the day it'd be more like a hands-on. So they'd have a go themselves. So
did you have to get like models and things like that?
Mannequins and stuff like that.
Right,
but I'm actually just because I used to do it from home, you see, so there wasn't enough room, not enough space for all these bodies.
All these people, yeah.
Exactly. But I've actually just got myself a new shop in Johnfield, so there will actually be room now for people to have actual models to work on, which will be really good. So yeah, I just started off doing workshops and just went from there really, and obviously now doing my online education, and that started off because people used to message me saying, do you do online? I was like, oh no, and to be honest I didn't even ever consider it because I just thought I wouldn't have a clue where to start, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's very baffling, the whole thing, and but yeah, one day I just thought, you know what, I'll just do it. So
just to rewind to how long have you been doing the workshops as you know, the in-person stuff? When did that start? We're talking like 3 years ago is about when you went full time, you know.
Yeah, I'd say probably a couple of years ago I've been doing workshops.
Right.
So I don't know, 2.5.
It's really impressive though, you know, because you know.
I started off at first actually. doing them. So I used to do lessons, and then I actually used to hire out a salon and pay a day to be in this salon.
Yeah.
And I'd probably start off doing like one workshop every 3 months or something like that. So I'd do that for a year. And then I used to think, actually, if I did it from home, I could do more. And I got to the point where I was doing like three workshops a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 3 a week and multiple attendees, and then you're doing bridal hair, weddings on a weekend.
Then 2020 happened.
2020 happened.
Yeah.
And this is it. So for people that are watching and listening, this is the thing for me, right? We only know each other because you met my wife at a wedding.
Yeah.
Well, I think you probably inquired before that because the bride
by that point I was already booked. Yeah, I'd already booked you. Yeah, so you've been recommended.
So someone had recommended us to do your wedding, but like, you know, I didn't know anything about you. It's the missus who was like, oh, you know, she's like really well known, this bridal hairstylist. Yeah, and I'm not like I'll be honest. It was she was like fangirling a little bit, and I was like, right, okay, you know, I don't really know much about bridal hair. And then, you know, Lindsay met you at that wedding.
Yeah.
She said, oh, she's so down to earth, you know, and like, I guess, you know, sometimes we've had, I probably shouldn't say this on this podcast, but there's been a couple of experiences with bridal hairstylists or makeup artists or whatever where they can get a bit funny because videographers and photographers have got a different job to do.
Yeah.
They're trying to like capture the day. It can sometimes be a little bit of a thing about like getting in the way and stuff like that, and we try not to, but it happens. And you know, she said you were how down to earth you were, and then out of the blue you just contact me to help you film your online training, and you know, let's be honest, it's like you said you hadn't thought about it before, but it's such a clever next business step, especially under the circumstances that we've had this year. Yeah. So you couldn't do your workshops. No. You couldn't do your bridal hair. No. So how can you...
This just happened when me and my fella went out for a walk one day and we were just talking, and then I think it was probably a joint conversation. He'll say it was more his idea. But yeah, we came back and I think I messaged you straight away. Yeah, I messaged you. I messaged somebody that I'd been recommended before for a website. And I was just got my pen and paper out, started to write ideas.
And I think it's something you know that would have been the next step. Anytime.
Yeah, I always think, like, for me, I'm constantly writing like notes and goals and lists. Like I'm always doing that. So I always think, for anyone really, I just write yourself a list of things like what do you want to do. Where do you want to be like this time next year? It might be something stupid that you want to do I just feel like if I don't ever write something down, like I can't put it on an app, I can't type it up on my phone because that don't count to me. It has to be in pen and I have to scribble it out and I've done it. That's the only way that it works for me.
That makes sense,
yeah. But I constantly write lists and goals and that's the only way that I can do it really.
So you're always thinking of new ideas.
Yeah, which is ridiculous, but I'm always kind of thinking, oh, what could I do next? Or
and Dan, your partner, gonna get married. Yeah. He obviously works with you.
Yeah.
So together, you know, I guess it's not just you. Yeah, I guess like you've said before, he kind of is, whereas you're like, let's call it, you're like more of the creative side.
Yeah. He's more kind of the business mind, I would say. He's more the... He does all the invoices and all the stuff that I ain't got a clue about. So he does all the business side.
So he's keeping it ticking in the background. Yeah. You're there like as the face.
I'm doing all the pretty hairstyles and teaching people how to do it.
And so you build this online education thing. Yeah. And I'll be honest, I can't believe how impressed I am with it because when you first contacted me, I wasn't really sure exactly
how it would work.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure what you were wanting from me and what you were actually trying to build. Yeah. And obviously I've seen people's online education courses. Yours is like really No, I know you probably get all like, weird because I'm like giving you a compliment, but yours is really good, and you go on the website, the branding.
Oh, thank you.
The user experience of going on it is just really well executed.
Oh, thank you.
So not only is all your knowledge in there, but the way that you've put it together, I think is like, I don't know. I've not gone and done a load of bridal hair courses.
Yeah.
But it does look like it would be, up there with.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's going really well. Obviously, it only launched in like end of October. Yeah, it's going really well, and I'm actually really enjoying it. At first, because basically once you pay, it's a one-off fee, and once you pay, you got it for lifetime. So the idea behind it is you pay to join. That's it. There's no extra costs or anything like that. But obviously for me it was a bit like, oh, I've got this for life now. Like I can't just say, oh, I'm quitting this. Like this is the. Do you know what I mean?
You've got to be able to give them access.
Yeah. And no, like I basically don't want people to just get the course and that's that. So basically it includes they become part of the Facebook group.
Yep.
And the Facebook group, I'm adding new content every single week. So at first, for me, it was a little bit daunting. Like, oh, what if nobody joins, or what if one person joins and I've got to do this for the rest of their life?
What, to that one person?
Yeah, for one person, which would have been fine. But luckily, it wasn't. But yeah, so basically, I had new content like every single week. I mean, in December, I did it as like a little advent calendar. I've been doing like a tutorial every day.
Really?
Which has been, I feel like I'm living in the life of you, like editing videos.
Is that why you were saying, like, this editing's really...
Oh, yeah. So every day I've been getting models. Because I wanted to do it on real hair. I didn't want to do it on mannequins. So I've been getting models in and editing and then doing the voiceover and then waiting for 2 hours for it to load to Facebook, and like I've been doing that every single day in December. But I want to make sure that people are getting a lot out of it. I want to feel like it's, do you know what I mean? I want to feel like it was worth them forking out for. So obviously I really appreciate everybody that's joined, so I want to make sure it's like worth the while.
So I mean, the online education is there now.
Yeah.
Are you still doing the in-person workshops? That's the plan. It's like,
still doing workshops. Yeah, so still doing, because some people do prefer hands-on. Some people actually like to have a go with me stood there and obviously telling them how to hold the hair and how to do this. But the only thing is, obviously with that, you are limited on time. There's only so much you can teach. But obviously with like my online, I mean, I'm sure there's like over 50 hours on there now. Obviously that's impossible to teach in a day. But obviously like when I am doing workshops, I am offering like people good discounts when they have been anyway. So if people did want to then carry on learning more, they have got that option.
But it's like you say, the online stuff, even though some people might learn better, when we were filming and things, what you said was you can't touch any of this in one day of workshop, because the amount of like styles and stuff. I mean, I know how long it took to film. The amount of like styles that you go through on that course is incredible. Is that what you set out to do, or did you have this little idea and then it like grew? Because like you say, you're now doing like new content on a daily basis.
Well, for me, I wanted to make sure that I did it as thorough as possible. So I wanted to make sure that I covered all different hair types. So I basically wanted it to be like, I don't know, somebody's got a wedding and they're a bit nervous on this bride they've got at the weekend, and they want them to be able to think, oh, my bride's got fine hair, medium length, what do I do? They can go on the course then and think, what can I do with that hair length and that hair type? But it's not just a case of, it's that hairstyle that they can watch on YouTube. It's understanding obviously how to deal with different hair types. And
I think you used the word when we were filming, break down a hairstyle.
Yeah, like breaking
I didn't know
down.
What that meant.
yeah,
I do
obviously
now.
Breaking it down and figuring out like where to start and not panicking about it, basically.
Because I don't think I realised just how much was involved.
I think unless you're obviously in it, like obviously, like, I know when women go to the hair salon and get a cut and colour done, I think the husbands expect them to come back 20 minutes later.
Yeah.
They don't understand why it costs 200 quid and they've
And
been
takes
gone all
hours,
day. Yeah, so...
So you've done the online education, you're doing the workshops, you're carrying on with the bridal hair.
Yeah.
You're getting married yourself next year.
Yeah, you'll be doing the video.
And I'll be doing the video. No pressure. I do feel a bit of pressure on that one.
No, I'm not full I trust you.
But, so, what, 2020, what's that taught you?
God, 2020, what a year. Well, obviously 2020, we've lost pretty much everything in terms of weddings. I think I should have had 140 weddings this year. I think I've probably had not even 10.
Wow.
Yeah, I probably had a few at the beginning of the year, but obviously everything's pretty much gone. We're now obviously December. I've got 2 in December that were last minute bookings. But obviously it's just been a complete write-off, basically.
That's for everyone, yeah.
Yeah, so obviously the online education, that's been a lifesaver. But yeah, 2020 in a way, I mean, obviously in money-wise, obviously, and business-wise, it's obviously been like devastating to lose all that. But at the same time, it's been amazing to be able to spend time with my family, and I am one of these people. I never switch off. I never stop. I'm always doing something.
Well, you've indicated what your work ethic is.
I've always been the same. Like, I've worked since I was 14. So I've always been the same. Yeah. But I think 2020, like, my little boy has just been so like grateful for like spending time together. We've had dens in his bedroom and we've had sleepovers, and it's just made me think, like, God, like, I just need to make sure that from now on I switch off. Like, I work and I have set hours to work, and then at a certain time switch off. That's it. Try and put your phone down. Me and my fella now, when we watch a film at night, we put his phones in the top drawer in the living room. We don't get his phones out, because otherwise you can literally just be checking for notifications or just stupid stuff that doesn't count.
And then you're sat there but you're not together.
You're not together, and you're just basically in the same room, but you're not there, if that makes sense.
No,
so we
totally.
just literally say, like, right, phone's in the drawer, call it naughty drawer. Put phone's in naughty drawer. And we'll just, it's not full of naughty stuff. I don't know why I say that. But yeah, like, we literally put the phones in the drawer, and then that's it. We just watch a film and just concentrate on each other rather than, this sounds really wrong.
I don't know where this is going. But no, in all seriousness, like, no, I am listening to you and I'm thinking, because that's exactly what I've taken away from it too. It's been like a moment to stop and realise, you can work and work and work.
Yeah, and
what are you missing while you're doing that?
Yeah, and like just not being able to see your friends and things like that, it makes you think, God, like, we're actually so lucky to just this tiny things, and I think that's what's made me think, like, social media and stuff, it's, even though it is important with work, I kind of do sometimes wish that part of the job didn't exist, even though we need it.
Yeah, no, I think totally get you.
I sometimes wish that side of it.
Do you have that? I mean, yours could be horrendous in the past. Do you have that screen? You haven't got an Apple phone, but
no, I don't.
I have that.
Weight monitors how many
screen
times? Yeah, I wouldn't want to know.
Dreadful.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, it came up with something ridiculous, like 13 hours a day.
Yeah, wow.
For me, right? I don't do anything on it. But that's just me picking it up and looking at it.
But you'll be in denial, thinking you're never on your phone. My fella thinks he's never on his phone. He goes, I'm never on it, and he's always on his phone. We have this thing, we joke about it, and he's like, oh yeah, you're never on it, and he's constant. Well, we all are.
Yeah.
But I just think, 2020 for me has just made me realise that we need to just kind of work, and it's amazing. Obviously, you need to love what you do, but you also need to think, right, okay, I'm not working now, phone's away, and just...
And we've both got kids of a similar age, and you want to be able to enjoy that time.
I don't want
my
little boy's memories of me being like on my phone, like palming him off. Sometimes I'm guilty of it myself. Like, he's asked me a question and I've just gone, yeah. And he's asked me like what my favourite colour is, and I've just said like, yeah. Like, do you know, because you're just so zoned into your phone, and
And it is work, isn't it?
Yeah, you need to do it.
And this is what, so I used to go to work and come home and that there were boundaries. And I used to work a job where it was pretty horrendous shifts, but, you know, I do miss it in the respect of boundaries.
You come home when you're done, yeah.
Whereas when you run your own business, there is no cut off, switch off, you're home now, that's work done.
Yeah.
There's always something you could be doing.
Yeah, there's always that little something extra you could earn. Yeah. Or there's always that extra little thing that you could do. But
and it's not
you need
good.
to weigh it out, don't you?
So if you can go back to a younger version of you before all this, like pre-8 years ago, is there anything that, you know, you'd want to tell yourself? Because I don't think you've done much wrong. You know, it's
I'd say that. I mean, there's no way I'd work 3 months now without a day off.
Yeah, that's intense.
I used to miss out on so much. Like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do this because I'm working, or I can't do that because I could probably get a booking. Can't do that because of this, or even like I used to have to book my friends in. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, oh, we need to have a get together. I used to have to physically go in my diary and book them in. Whereas I think you should give yourself a day off a week that you can do stuff and finish at a certain time of night. I used to literally work all day while my little boy was at school, pick him up, work at night, put him to bed, I'd do a cut and colour, and then I'd answer messages all night. And sometimes it'd be 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'd still be at it. Yeah, so that's what I would say. Book yourself a day off every week.
Relax a little.
Yeah.
And in terms of, you know, is there anything that you would give advice to people, or what are the things that you think are important for success in the wedding industry? It doesn't necessarily have to be in bridal hair, but that's what you kind of know. So.
Important for success, I would always, like I've just been saying about like writing your goals down and stuff, like you don't have to tell anyone what your goals are. Like it might be something, you might be embarrassed to say it to someone, like, oh, I want to be doing this. Like people might actually like think that that's ridiculous and you're never going to do that. But if you'd never actually write it down and think, well, I'm going to at least try, you're never going to do it. So I would always say just write. I mean, I've just got myself a new book. It's called Something About Goals, and I'll be filling that out later because that's just the way I am. Yeah. But yeah, push yourself, go out your comfort zone. Like today, I was so nervous. I've actually really enjoyed doing this today. Good. But I could have easily just said no. It's too embarrassing.
I thought you would.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? Like, I'm glad I've done it.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes if you put yourself out your comfort zone, that's when that's probably when you start to like see results and stuff, I suppose.
Well, I think that you're proof of that, because you wouldn't, if you hadn't have maybe written those goals down or just gone and done it. Yeah. You know.
Oh yeah, some of the things that I've wrote down that I've literally, it wouldn't occur to me. It's when I sit down with a paper and pen, I think, oh, actually, what do I want to do in 5 years' time? And then I'll write it down. Then I think to myself, okay, what do I need to do to make a start for that to happen? Yeah. So I would have never messaged you, would I, about filming for the online. I would have messaged anyone. I wouldn't have booked models in to do it. Or
and then it wouldn't have happened.
It wouldn't have happened. So I just think. So
are you saying it's about like, you know, it's about the little things, not always
just
like
make a little. Yeah.
You can have a big idea.
Yeah.
If you don't
make a start towards it, then obviously you're just going to stay where you are.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that as long as you're happy with that. Like my mum and dad, my mum's always worked at Morrison's. She'd loved it. Yeah. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like if you're happy doing any job, it really doesn't matter. But I think if you're not happy doing something and you want more, then you've got to get your pen and paper out and write what you want to do.
No, that's great. I really think that's such a great it's such a great tip.
Oh, and keep them lists as well. I keep them. Yeah, I've got like loads of like old books and stuff, and I look back and I'll be like, honestly, like sometimes I'll just put like things to do this year, and it's all, and every list every year though it says like lose 2 stone. That never ever happens. It always says that get to this way, and then I look back and like get to that way. I'm like another 2 stone heavier than that now. But yeah, I genuinely think that if you want to achieve anything, then it sounds really cheesy.
That's okay. It can be cheesy.
You've got to put yourself out there, haven't you, to try it. You've got to at least try, otherwise you can't really moan and say. And
I don't think you'd have been able to do what you've been able to do, especially in... I can't even believe, I didn't realise that you said that, you know, you left kind of hairdressing 3 years ago to do this. Because what you've done in 3 years is insane. You know, I think I've kind of done okay doing what I was doing, but if I'd have been able to do what you've done in 3 years,
thank you. You don't think it like that though yourself, do you? You never do.
You should.
But yeah, I suppose if I think about 3 years ago, I didn't have any of my stylists working for me. I weren't teaching it. So yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Okay, so if people want to find you, where can they go? What's your website, Instagram, things like that?
So my Instagram is Hair by Hannah Taylor, and my website is hannahtaylorhair.com.
And that's for both, like booking you for your bridal hair and your course?
Yeah, so I'm happy to get messages on Instagram or emails, I try and catch on top of them every day, really. So if anyone messages me, it's usually within like 2 days latest that they'll hear back from me anyway. I try and keep on top of that.
Right. That's it. You can relax now. I really appreciate your time today and inviting me over to your place. And it's been lovely talking to you.
I've enjoyed it.
Thank you. Hey, so that was my conversation with Hannah Taylor. If you were looking for some insight or some motivation for your wedding business, I hope that this episode has provided it for you. It shows what is possible if you put your mind to things. She's helped inspire me and keep pushing things forward, and I hope it's inspired you too. I would love any feedback you have if you have listened to the podcast, so message me direct via email or on the socials. And if you haven't checked out the Wedding Mavericks website, head on over and sign up to our email list, as there will be lots more content coming in the future. If you prefer to watch, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And thank you for your time as always. That's it for this week, and I'll see you next time.